Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start with the prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhuvasvaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Asto ma sadgamya, tamso ma jyotirgamya, mrityorma amritam gamya. Om sahna bhavatu, sahna bhunaktu, sahviryam karvavahe, tejasvi navadhitamastu, ma vidvishavahe. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om. Let's open our Yog Darshan books. Third chapter, V45. And we ended our last week's class with verse number 44. Rishi Patanjali is talking about the state of Mahavideha. Mahavideha. At that point, the covering of the light is completely destroyed. And what is the light? Light of Atma. So as we all know that these vibhutis, which Rishi Patanjali is telling us, right now where we are, most of us, we can just only like to learn about it. But as we practice what he is telling us to practice, these powers will come. Because when we read other scriptures, we see those yogis. In our Friday's class, we finished the autobiography of a yogi. And we saw these vibhutis. He witnessed in his guru. We have witnessed in our Guru Devji. So that means these powers do come, but we have to do the practice though. Sadhana we have to do. Abhyas and Vairagya we have to do. But at the same time, this Abhyas and Vairagya is not to attain the vibhutis, to attain that ultimate goal. Keep that in mind. So let's look at in verse number 45, what he's telling us. So in this one, there's a mastery of the bhuts, those elements. Sthoolasvaroopasookshmanvayarthavattva samyamadbhootajayah. Sthool is gross. Svaroop, the real form. Suksham, subtle. Anvaya, interpenetrating. Arthvatva, serving the purpose. Samyamad, by Samyama. Bhootajayah, mastery over the elements. So by Samyam on the gross, basic, subtle, and interpenetrating states. And the purpose of the bhuts, mastery over them is obtained. So it's just like a conquering this nature, this prakriti. There are 5 states of the 5 elements. Their gross form, their real form, their subtle form, their universal form, and their purpose. Samyam on these states, and we are all familiar with this technical term Samyama, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi together. So Samyam on these states of elements gives mastery over them. So tattva here does not mean equality, it means thatness. Tattva. It means the principal component. It refers to the state of existence and functions and nature of an object. In Sankhya and Yoga, there are innumerable tattvas. Although they are different from each other, they are derived from one supreme principle. The five tattvas mean the elements called earth, water, fire, air, and space, the ether. These are made over here by Rishi Patanjali the object of Samyama, these tattvas. So Samyama is to be performed not only on the gross form, but on the subtle, basic, and universal form as well, he is saying. So the basic nature of earth is what? Smell. Basic nature of water is what? Liquidity. And of fire, it's a heat. Of air, it is motion. And of akash, it is a sound. So Samyam should be practiced on these basic qualities also. So their subtle states mean their tanmatras. That's another technical terms we are familiar with. And tanmatras are what? Smell for the earth, fluid for the water, form for the fire, touch for the air, and sound for the ether or akash. So Samyam is practiced on them also. Similarly, Samyam is practiced on their universal form, which is common for all. So the purpose or function of the booth is meditated upon. So their functions means the 25 tattva of Sankhya. So Purusha, Prakriti. 3 internal organs. That is the Suksham Shrid. 5 cognitive organs, 5 motor organs, 5 tanmatras, and 5 elements. So he is telling us to know all this, do Samyam on this. So he says by Samyam on the gross, basic, subtle, and interpenetrating states and the purpose of the booths. If you do this, you'll become the master of this Prakriti. So Rishi Patanjali is very clearly referring to the practice that empowers a yogi to conquer these 5 elements. Normally, we are the servant of these elements. But a yogi stays, see, we as ordinary people right now, we are super affected by these. The yogis, they remain unaffected by these elements. And that's how they command their behavior. They know how to accelerate. They know how to arrest their functions. We just get bogged down with these basic elements so easily, and we even forget our own sadhana. Little dirt here and there, little problem here and there, goes our own sadhana. We get so absorbed in it. Rishi Patanjali is telling us to venture into elaborating on the dynamics of this practice. It is important to emphasize that the practice lies in the exclusive domain of the highest caliber sadhaks. Ordinary sadhaks can't do that. So if this is where we want to go, then we got to follow this. So advanced stage of meditation results in the manifestation of a self-luminous field of consciousness. That's what we have been reading about. And with sustained practice, this self-luminous field eventually becomes the locus of our chitta samvit. This is one of the terms he has been using in these verses. And what is a chit samvit? It's a technical term, knowing the power of the chit. Knowing the power. Chit samvit. So each of these 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and space, has 5 categories of properties and functions. So there are 25 discrete categories of properties and functions for the practice of Samyama. By following the principle of meditation described earlier to us, we have gained a highly one-pointed mind. By employing this one-pointed mind fully anchored in the self-luminous space of consciousness, even outside the body. Because first we learn to do it inside the body, then the outside of the body, we are able to comprehend the transformation of the defining qualities, symptoms, conditions occurring in these 5 broad categories. Because we are trying to become a yogi of that caliber, where we become the master of this prakriti. For example, we can focus on the physical form, like a sthoola form of earth, water, fire, air, or space. We will use the earth element as an example over here right now. We can focus on the physical form of the earth element by concentrating on a lump of clay, easily available dirt. With our sharp, highly concentrated mind, we can isolate a tiny particle of clay, split it further, directly perceive its atomic and subatomic form, and practice Samyama on an atom. Its a relationship with the other atoms, and the dynamics involved in bringing trillions of atoms together to form a lump of clay. Can we do that? Is our mind in our control for that long? When we see dirt, what do? Our mind wanders. Some places we like it, and some places we don't like it. Our likes and dislikes are so strong. We cannot go to that atomic and subatomic level where Rishi Patanjali is asking us to do. That's why we are not the master of these elements. On the other hand, we are the servants of these elements. This form of Samyama unveils the atomic and subatomic behavior of the earth element. It makes us understand Earth's essential nature. I'm not talking about the planet Earth. I'm talking about the earth element. Svaroop. Svaroop of the earth element is solidity. It enables us to understand how a particular atomic sequence increases or decreases the density of matter, and even affecting its compactness and weight. And it makes us understand suksham part also. See, suksham is the subtle counterpart of the gross form, and how changes occur in the atoms and in their relationships with the atoms, and in the aggregate of atoms that form a lump of clay. And from there, we can perceive the infinitely vast range of Gandha. We know Gandha is the tanmatra of earth element. Gandha means smell. which enables us to detect the smell that distinguishes one atom from another, and the collective smell of all atoms that form a lump of clay. So Samyam on a lump of clay also entails focusing on anvaya. Anvaya means the commingled nature of the element. So this is how the yogis, when they live in the nature, this is what they did. Samyam on each part of the nature, and that's how they could understand what this Prakriti is all about. And they became the master of the Prakriti. Because elements, they protect and nourish us. And as human beings with a higher intellect, we are supposed to protect and nourish the elements also. So it's like a give and take. They give us, they protect us, they nourish us. We got to nourish them back too. Whether it's a earth element, or the fire element, or the space element, or the other elements. Only then we become the master of it. From there, what happens in the verse number 46? Tataha anima adi pradurbhavah kayasanpat taddharmanabhighatashch. So these are the powers which come to the yogi. Tataha, therefrom. See the connection between the previous verses and this verse. Sometimes we like one verse, so we think, hey, no, I got to have this power. But we forget that what do we need to do in order to attain this? See, attainment of these powers requires the mastery over the elements first. Tataha, therefrom, anima adi, anima, etc. Pradurbhava, appearance. Kayasanpat, bodily wealth. Tat means that. Dharma means function. Anabhighataha, non-obstruction. Cha means end. From that, the appearance of anima and other powers. Anima adi. Perfection of the body and non-obstruction from the function of the body follows. So that means from that victory over the elements arise siddhis, anima, etc. Another thing, the wealth of bodily function, perfection. Bodily perfection is when body functions properly. And the siddhis of being unhampered by the properties and functions of the elements. Otherwise, when these elements, this body is made up of those 5 elements. If they are not functioning properly, what happens? Diseases, decay, and death. So by having mastery over the 5 elements are declared in the previous sutra. And over here in this sutra, Rishi Patanjali says that those psychic powers or the vibhutis, anima adi. And what are those adi? I think we have talked about it earlier. Anima, laghima, mahima, garima, prapati, prakamya, vashitva, ishtva. So these are the 8 powers. Ashta siddhi it's called. Anima means the yogi can make his body small like an atom. We saw that Hanumanji doing it. He went into the mouth of that fish. Anima, laghima, the body can be made light. Making the body small, our own Yogeshwar Prabhu Ramlal Ji, our Ishta Devata, he got out of the cave. Cave was locked. People were outside. The whole body was gone. Without breaking the door, without opening the lock, he made his body so small. Yogis can do that. So Anima, the yogi, can make his body small like an atom. Laghima, the body can be made light. When the body is light, Hanumanji could fly. Other yogis, they fly also. We read about them. Mahima, the body can be made large also. Garima, the body can be made heavy. Prapati, capacity to reach anywhere. Prakamya, unobstructed fulfillment of desire. Prakamya. Vashitva, control over all objects, organic or inorganic. Ishitva, the capacity to create and destroy at will. The whole Dwarka was created. When the Hastinapur was not given to Yudhishthir and the other Pandavas, how was that beautiful? Indraprastha was created. Ishtva. God has created this whole universe, which we don't know where it ends. There's nothing difficult for God. When a yogi is this kind of a union with God, because that is a yogi, not a person who can do few asanas. Yogis who are totally connected with God definitely can create anything. Then he says his body becomes perfect and he overcomes all the obstructions due to limitations of the body and the bhoots. So limitations come when we are under the sway of these bhoots, these elements. So the three factors he is mentioning in this verse: appearance of the anima and other powers, perfection of the body, that is the number 2, and overcoming all the obstructions. So all of these appear as a result of complete mastery over the Mahabhuts. Due to the victory over the 5 broad categories of the properties and the functions of the elements, yogi can attain all these powers. This is what you got to understand. Because all these qualities which we are talking about, becoming big, becoming small, becoming light, becoming heavy, all of that has to do in relation to these basic elements. So in regard to the elements, the yogi is capable of doing what he wishes to do, not doing what he doesn't wish to do. And he can reverse the changes that have already occurred in the elements also. Victory over the elements also manifests in kayasanpat, acquisition of bodily wealth, as subject elaborated in the next verse also. So next verse is actually connected with this, the perfection of the body. Roop, lavanya, bal, vajra, sahan, tawani, kaya, sampat. Perfection of the body. Roop is the form, the beauty. Lavanya, grace. Bal, strength, energy. Vajra, sahanam, tawani, hardness. Kaya means the body, the physical. Sampat means the wealth. Okay? So beauty, charm, vitality, and healing power. He said those are the wealth which I mentioned in the last verse. That's a bodily wealth. So the unfoldment of kaya sampat, bodily wealth, it's a vast subject actually. That's why Rishi Patanjali is giving a whole sutra for that. Earlier also he mentioned tap. When he was talking about tap, he said tap destroys our physical and mental impurities. When the impurities have been burnt, what happens? Our body shines. He talked about the leading to the unfoldment of kaya siddhi or indriya siddhi or the perfection of the functions of the senses. And this is a practice like this leads to the bodily perfection, which begins with the kaya kalpa. That's also another technical term, kaya kalpa. Kaya kalpa is a system of rejuvenation. In Ayurveda, they talk about it quite a bit. The Hatha Yoga practices also. When we do the cleansings, when we do the asanas, when we do the pranayams, sure, the impurities, they burn. There's a more flexibility in the body. The youthfulness is seen, and that is called a kaya kalpa. So the purpose of kaya kalpa is to detoxify the body, restore its healing and rejuvenating power, and enable us to live a disease-free and medicine-free life. Because why do we take medicines? Because we have diseases. And these days, the more medicines we take, the more diseases multiply. So that's why yogis, they gave us these techniques so that we can cultivate a strong, energetic body with the capacity to remain unaffected by internal or external causes of diseases. And that itself is a great achievement. And that kind of a body is a perfect container for a healthy mind. With the help of a healthy body and mind, we are able to enter a realm of yogic experience, which is talking about as siddhis. And in this verse, this level of accomplishment originates from kaya kalpa and constitutes the first part of kaya sampat. It is a siddhi in its own level, actually. So from a standpoint of yogis who have gained a direct experience of their chitta samvit and have made their locus the self-luminous space of consciousness outside their body, it is only the beginning. High caliber yogis who have attained victory over the 5 elements and attained the other siddhis also are natural recipients of the second part of kaya sampat. And this is far beyond the first part, which merely involves the restoration of the body's natural beauty, charm, vitality. That's just like a very outside. Or even a healing power is very elementary for a yogi. To a yogi who is anchored in the fully palpable self-luminous space of consciousness, these bodily attributes and conditions are actually meaningless. They are so much detached from this body. Even though these powers do come, don't we see all the yogis, the shine, the health, the calmness? They don't get disturbed with little things here and there. But the second part of the kayasanpat is not dependent on a technique or a practice, but it is an outgrowth of bhootajayah. Remember that, which we are learning today. Bhootajayah is victory over the elements. That's where it comes from. Earth, water, fire, air, space are saturated with the properties needed to bring forward form, structure, attractiveness, vitality, stamina, ability to heal, and rejuvenate. Don't we talk about hydrate your skin, hydrate your body? We just stay only at a very small outer part of it. Let's look at the healing powers of all of them. A yogi who has attained victory over the elements is conversant with the dynamics of the properties and the functions of the elements. That's how a yogi uses this knowledge and power. That's how a yogi can set a standard, his or her own standard of bodily wealth. Because mastery over the elements, he has the power to infuse all those powers inside the body. Yogi is able to exercise this power to infuse this Shakti inside him. So this power enables the yogi to bring changes in the body's overall form, overall structure, vitality, immunity to diseases necessary to accomplish the purpose of this life. Whatever purpose, sometimes these purposes could be small goals to accomplish. But then yogi does not forget the ultimate purpose, the moksha. Because with the help of this body, no matter where we live, we do the sadhana. Let's look at verse number 48. Grahan savroop asmita anvayarthavattva samyamat indriyajaya. Over here, he's talking about mastery of the sense organs. So grahan, power of cognition, perceiving power. Savroop, the essential nature. Asmita, egoism or self-identification. Anvayarthavattva, commingled state or commingled nature. Samyamat, by samyama, indriyajaya, mastery or the victory over the senses or the sense organs. So from samyama and the perceiving power, the essential nature, self-identification, commingled nature, and purposefulness of the senses, victory over the senses can be obtained. See, right now we are the slaves of our senses. He is teaching us how to become a master over the sense organs. These sense organs are like a horses on the chariot. If the horses are not in control, we know what will happen to the chariot and the driver and the owner. And the horses also, because they are tied to it. So this is what he's telling us: to have control and mastery over the sense organs, it is necessary to perform samyam on these 5 items. There are 5 things he's mentioning over here. The power of cognition of the particular sense organ. That is number 1. the essential quality of the sense organ. Number 2, egoism or the individuality of the person which expresses itself through the sense organs. Asmita. Number 4 is all pervasiveness, which means the co-relationship of the sense organs with each other. They don't work independently. They work with each other. So it's almost like a simultaneous functioning of many sense organs. For example, when you see an animal, you can know through your eyes whether it's a dog or an elephant. You can hear its sound. You can feel its touch, etc. The knowledge arising in the mind is a combination of the impacts of all the organs. This is what it means over here. They work together. So the knowledge is one, but it depends equally and simultaneously on the various sense organs. That's why when our sense organs, they say more than 2 sense organs, they stop functioning, the quality of life decreases tremendously. And if more than 2, and we know what happens. So we need all of them to work collectively also. And purpose, what is talking about, what with this purpose, every sense organ has a definite purpose in the scheme of human life. Every sense organ. And we have learned earlier that there are 2 purposes of a human life: bhog and upvarg. Bhog means the experience, and upvarg is liberation. As a yoga students, we got to remember that. It's not that we should not enjoy good scenes, but we got to remember there is a higher purpose also. That's why those 2 terms, avirati and uparati. We got to rise above the sense gratification. Uparati. So bhog, upvarg, so samyam is to be performed on all 5 stages of the indriyas, sense organs separately. So you meditate upon the essential nature of the eyes and know that it is the purpose. We can do the samyam on that. The egoism of the eyes means the awareness that I see, but then remember which power is making us see through these instruments. Pay attention to that also. We are so absorbed in the outer world, the scenes outside, which keep on changing. We forget what the purpose was when God gave us these beautiful eyes. Then the knowledge gained through perception is dependent upon other organs as well. So this samyam on the sense organs should be practiced. So the mastery over the senses usually implies an enhancement either in our capacity to smell, taste, see, touch, and hear, or in our capacity not to be distracted, not to be disturbed, or overwhelmed by sensory experiences. So the victory over the senses referred to in this sutra includes complete knowledge of the senses, how they evolve, their relationship and interaction with the mind, how they bring that special part of the objects of cognition, how they give the concrete form to abstract comprehension of the objects. How do we know this particular unit? How does it really get embedded in our memory also? So mastery over the senses really gives us the understanding how the mind uses the five senses to break down the cognitions of the phenomenal world. Mastery of the senses includes understanding the evolution and the evolution of the organs also. So there's a whole world inside us. These great instruments have been given to us. That's why yogis, they call these instruments devatas. When we know that these are the devatas, we will respect them. We will not see anything tamasic with these eyes. They are the devatas. We will not touch anything tamasic with these hands. We will not go to any place which is tamasic or even rajasic. Because we know that by going that path, we will not fulfill the purpose of this life. So remember, these five senses, they have five broad categories of properties and functions. Together, there are 25 discrete points for practicing Samyama. That's how much work we have to do with these senses alone. Are we doing it? Are we able to pull the 25 discrete points into one continuum of a Samyama? Can we reach a state where we can see the vast range of properties and functions of the senses flow from the Chit Samvit? Do we really know how all this connected with Chit Samvit? Or how they are nourished by Chit Samvit? When was the last time we really worked on that? We are just busy wasting our time in the outer world so much. Arguing, fighting, putting each other down. For what? Because these sages, these rishis, these yogis, they want us to go to the advanced stages. They want us to have this knowledge firsthand. They are teaching us how to unfold from this Chit Samvit. Because this knowledge opens the floodgate to understand not only this nature, but Paramatma also. How do we came out? How do we dissolve back in? And this is what he's going to tell us in the next verse when he uses the word when he says tataha mano javitvam vikaran bhava pradhanajaya. That is the word I was looking for. Pradhanajaya. Pradhan is another term for Prakriti. The total Prakriti, conquest of the Prakriti is called the Pradhanajaya. So we'll start with verse number 49 next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vishishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.